For decades, Eritrea has stood as one of the world's most isolated states, its cities and countryside marked by a sense of distance from the rest of the world. The streets of Asmara, once bustling with international visitors, now move at a slower pace, reflecting the country's long-standing detachment from global affairs. This isolation has shaped not only Eritrea's economy and society, but also its place in the international community. Its relationship with the United States has been particularly fraught, frozen by years of sanctions, deep mutual suspicion, and a persistent lack of open dialogue. The U.S. Embassy in Asmara stands as a symbol of this chilly relationship, while international meetings often highlight the gulf between the two nations. Sanctions imposed by the United Nations and the U.S. have further deepened the divide, making cooperation seem almost impossible. But in recent months, subtle yet significant changes have begun to emerge. Eritrea's top diplomat has started to appear at high-level meetings and international summits, engaging with world leaders in ways that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. This newfound visibility on the world stage marks a striking shift from Eritrea's long-held isolation and suggests that the country may be seeking a new path forward. The Horn of Africa is currently in turmoil, with conflicts and instability threatening to spill across borders. As the region faces mounting challenges, both Washington and Asmara are being forced to reconsider old assumptions and entrenched positions. The growing instability has made it clear that the status quo is no longer sustainable and that new approaches may be necessary to ensure peace and security. The cost of ignoring Eritrea is becoming increasingly apparent to international observers. Subtle diplomatic moves, such as quiet meetings, renewed talks, and cautious handshakes, hint at a possible realignment that could reshape not only Eritrea's relationship with the United States, but also the broader dynamics of the region. These early steps may seem small, but they carry the potential for significant change. To truly understand this emerging shift, we must look back at the complex history that created the divide between Eritrea and the United States. Decades of mistrust, conflict, and missed opportunities have shaped the present moment. Now, new pressures, both internal and external, are pushing these two nations toward a cautious but potentially transformative engagement. The coming months may reveal whether this glimmer of change will grow into something more substantial or fade back into the shadows of the past. The U.S. Eritrea relationship is rooted in Cold War politics and Eritrea's long struggle for independence. After gaining independence in 1993, initial optimism faded as Washington criticized Eritrea's authoritarian turn, while Asmara saw U.S. actions as hypocritical and biased toward Ethiopia. Historical grievances, like U.S. support for Eritrea's federation with Ethiopia in the 1950s, deepened mistrust. Accusations flew. The U.S. blamed Eritrea for regional destabilization, while Eritrea saw sanctions as punishment for its independence. Diplomatic ties withered and Eritrea retreated into self-reliance, cementing a cycle of hostility. The result, a legacy of suspicion and a diplomatic stalemate that still shapes every interaction. Any new chapter must reckon with this heavy history. Symbolism matters in diplomacy, and Eritrean Foreign Minister Osman Saleh's visit to the UN General Assembly in New York was a powerful signal. For a nation known for isolation, this was a deliberate step onto the global stage. Saleh's meetings with the UN Secretary General and regional counterparts signaled Eritrea's intent to be seen as a stakeholder in regional security. No direct talks with US officials were announced, but Eritrea's open engagement in New York was itself a message. This shift from absence to participation suggests a tactical recalibration in Asmara. Eritrea's leadership now sees value in engagement, recognizing that isolation carries growing risks. The visit was less about deals and more about signaling a new diplomatic openness. Eritrea's outreach is driven by pragmatism, not idealism. Years of isolation have stunted its economy and left its population yearning for opportunity. Eritrea's untapped mineral wealth and strategic ports could attract investment if sanctions and its pariah status are addressed. Re-engagement, especially with the US, is key to unlocking economic growth and international legitimacy. Regionally, Eritrea wants a seat at the table as the Horn of Africa's power dynamics shift. President Isaias Afewerki's long rule is nearing its end, and the elite recognize the need for a more stable, outward-looking policy. Building bridges now could secure Eritrea's future and smooth a post-Isaias transition. This diplomatic shift is about economic relief, regional influence, and long-term survival. The U.S. has its own reasons to reconsider Eritrea. In recent years, shifting dynamics in the Horn of Africa and the broader Red Sea region have forced Washington to reevaluate its approach. As global competition intensifies, the U.S. is looking for new partners to help secure its interests and maintain influence in this strategically vital corridor. Eritrea's Red Sea coastline sits at a global trade choke point, making its cooperation vital for maritime security. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait, just off Eritrea's shores, is one of the world's busiest shipping lanes, connecting the Mediterranean to the Indian Ocean. Every year, billions of dollars in goods pass through these waters, making stability here a top priority for the U.S. and its allies. Instability in Yemen and the Horn has made ignoring Eritrea a strategic risk. Ongoing conflict, piracy, and the threat of terrorism have all contributed to a volatile environment. For Washington, overlooking Eritrea could mean missing a crucial opportunity to shape outcomes in a region where chaos can quickly spill across borders and threaten global commerce. A partnership could mean intelligence sharing and access to key ports, countering the growing presence of China and Russia in the region. By working together, the U.S. and Eritrea could monitor maritime threats more effectively, support anti-piracy operations, and ensure that vital shipping lanes remain open and secure for international trade. China's base in Djibouti and Russia's ambitions in Port Sudan have raised the stakes. Both powers are expanding their military and economic footprints, challenging the traditional dominance of the U.S. and its allies. The presence of foreign bases so close to Eritrea underscores the urgency for Washington to strengthen its own ties in the region. Engaging Eritrea helps the U.S. remain relevant in the region's security architecture. By building trust and cooperation, Washington can help shape the rules of engagement and promote stability, while also deterring adversaries from gaining a foothold. Washington hopes that bringing Eritrea into the fold could encourage it to play a more constructive regional role. Improved relations could open the door to economic development, humanitarian cooperation, and conflict resolution efforts that benefit the entire Horn of Africa. For both sides, engagement is a pragmatic bet on stability over continued isolation. As the Red Sea becomes ever more contested, the choices made now will shape the region's future and the security of global trade for years to come. The road to rapprochement is fraught with obstacles. Decades of mistrust and accusations have left both sides wary. The U.S. remains concerned about Eritrea's human rights record and indefinite national service, which underpin ongoing sanctions. Eritrea, in turn, fears U.S. interference and regime change, remembering past betrayals. Sanctions are a major sticking point. Eritrea wants them lifted, but the U.S. demands reforms first. Breaking this deadlock will require creative, incremental diplomacy and confidence-building steps. Eritrea's one-party rule and lack of political freedoms remain a challenge for any U.S. administration. Progress will be slow, and any move toward partnership will be closely scrutinized at home and abroad. The U.S. Eritrea dynamic is shaped by a crowded field of global and regional powers, each vying for influence in the strategically vital Horn of Africa. This region, perched along key maritime routes and bordering the Red Sea, has become a focal point for international competition, with major players seeking to secure their interests. Washington's engagement is partly about countering China's economic dominance and Russia's military ambitions in the Horn of Africa. The U.S. is concerned about Beijing's growing investments in infrastructure and trade, which could translate into long-term political leverage. At the same time, Russia's expanding military footprint, including arms deals and security partnerships, adds another layer of complexity to the region's power dynamics. Eritrea, meanwhile, leverages this competition, playing powers off each other to maximize its own advantage. By engaging with multiple partners, Asmara can extract economic aid, military support, and diplomatic recognition, all while maintaining a degree of independence that few other states in the region can match. Asmara can pursue a multi-aligned policy, resisting pressure from any single partner. This approach allows Eritrea to avoid overdependence and to negotiate from a position of strength, even as it faces international scrutiny over its domestic policies. If the US pushes too hard, Eritrea can turn to Beijing or Moscow, who are less concerned with its internal politics and more interested in strategic access and influence. This flexibility gives Eritrea significant leverage in its foreign relations, allowing it to play major powers against each other. Regional players like Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE also seek influence, complicating the landscape further. These countries are drawn by the Horn's proximity to the Middle East and its potential as a gateway for trade, security cooperation, and even military bases. Eritrea's transactional alliances, such as granting the UAE use of Assab port, show its flexibility and willingness to make deals that serve its immediate interests. These arrangements can bring in much-needed revenue and security guarantees, but also tie Eritrea into broader regional rivalries. Any US move will have ripple effects across the region's complex web of alliances, as every action is closely watched by both global and regional actors. In this high-stakes environment, Eritrea's ability to navigate shifting alliances will remain a key factor in the Horn's evolving geopolitical landscape. The foreign minister's visit to New York was no breakthrough, but it cracked open a door long shut. For Eritrea, it could mark the start of reintegration, easing sanctions and attracting investment. For the US, it's a chance to secure its interests and promote stability in a volatile region. The rewards are significant, but so are the risks. Deep mistrust and fundamental differences remain. Progress will be incremental, requiring patience and open communication. A single misstep could send relations back into a deep freeze. Yet for the first time in years, a path forward exists, one that could reshape the Horn of Africa's